Hello, brothers and sisters. How are you doing? I'm hoping that you had a wonderful day today. We're almost at Friday and we'll be able to start relaxing for the weekend. I hope that you found time today to include our Father in heaven and His Son Jesus Christ in your life today. As always, this is the most important relationship that you could form in this life. Today we'll be working with Doctrine and Covenants section 104, verses 1 through 46. Now this is a great session to show us how stewardship should be handled. Now let's start off, and I always love this part when the Lord refers to us as His friends. He says, I give counsel unto you in a moment concerning all the properties which belong to the order, which I commanded to be organized and established, to be a united order, an everlasting order, for the benefit of my children, and for the salvation of men until I come. Unfortunately, due to people, the united order didn't last. We know that the United Order collapsed, but the Lord didn't let it fully collapse. What He did is He shifted it from being from the original format where everyone was living to being just responsible of what you have and what the Lord has given us. That's the important thing there. Let's see here. Okay, so the Lord continues in verse 2, with a promise immutable and unchangeable, that inasmuch as those whom I commanded were faithful, they should be blessed with a multiplicity of blessings. But inasmuch as they were not faithful, they were nigh unto cursing. So all of God's blessings are conditional. We have seen this throughout time and time again. If we live a certain way according to what the Lord tells us, it brings us blessings. We don't live that way, we will not be blessed. It's like a parent and child relationship. As a parent, if your children follow your rules, they'll be blessed for it. They'll receive more responsibility, more opportunities. But if we don't, we're either put in the corner or put in time out or punished in one way or another. And I know the atheists really hate when I talk this way, because they cannot see beyond their mortal perception of God's punishment being equated to loving parents. I think some Christians and Latter-day Saints have the same problem, but it's the best way for me to be able to communicate that. He continues in verse 4. Therefore, inasmuch as some of my servants have not kept my commandments, but have broken the covenant through covetousness and feigned words, and that word feigned is always a fascinating one to me. It means simulated or pretended insincere. But let's take a look at the 1828 dictionary. Particle, part, Participle passive, invented, devised, imagined, or assumed. Very interesting. He continues, I have cursed them with a very sore curse and a grievous curse. Give me 1 second. I have been so inactive on this, it kicked me out, and I have some notes here. There we go. And he continues in verse 5. I, the Lord, have decreed in my heart that inasmuch as any man belong to this order shall be found a transgressor, or in other words, shall break the covenant which ye are bound, ye shall be cursed in his life, and shall be trodden down by whom I will. Now, the covenants we make, I don't think the majority of the saints understand the seriousness of these covenants. See, with Christianity, they take covenants lightly. Of course, they don't really look at what we do when we are baptized as a covenant. They look at it as a symbolic, an outward expression of an inward desire. That's how many Christians have looked at it, but we don't. It is a covenant, and it's not a covenant that is something that is just for this life. This affects our eternal destiny. I wish we could learn more about the covenants, and I honestly do. The covenants that we make are significant, and there should be eternal consequences for breaking those covenants. He continues in verse 6, I, the Lord, am not to be mocked in these things. Meaning, he's not going to be mocked in us breaking our covenants. He continues in verse 7, all these that the innocent among you may not be condemned with the unjust, that the guilty among you may not escape, because I, the Lord, have promised unto you a crown of glory at my right hand. Did you hear that? God has promised us a crown of glory. Who gets crowns? Do servants get crowns? No. Only kings get crowns. But this crown isn't something that is just a nonchalant type of crown like an earthly king. What is this? It is a crown of glory. Now, the crown of glory means we are crowned as kings and priests, as promised in book of Revelation and many other places. But then, where we're sitting is very significant. See, the right hand is the covenant hand. And we are placed at his right hand. Why? Because that's where those who receive their inheritance from God, their blessings for eternal salvation, on the right side. That's where he goes. And yes, even though on your screen it may look like I'm pointing left, but I'm actually pointing right. So think about that. If we do as God promises, if we keep all the covenants, we will be crowned kings and priests. and placed on Christ's right hand. I love symbolism. Okay. Now, here's the downside. Therefore, inasmuch as you are found transgressor, you cannot escape my wrath in your lives. But if we happen to, because remember, many of these people lived a good life after they left the United Order. They will not escape the eternal consequences. And he continues in verse 9, he says, inasmuch as ye are cut off for transgression, ye cannot escape the buffetings of Satan until the day of redemption. Now this is an interesting part. Let me see if I can find it. I was reading something that caught my eye concerning this verse 9. Every time I hear the word 9, I can't help but think of the German word for no. Let's see, where was it? This is talking about King David. On gospeldoctrine.com, concerning 104, verse 9, it says, beheadings can occur in this life or the next. However, the term is often applied to the sufferings of sin after death. This raises the question, is it possible to suffer in the spirit world and then be resurrected to a kingdom of glory? The author of the website says, yes. He says, absolutely. Take example. King David, although guilty of murdering Uriah, would not be punished forever. He gloried in the knowledge that he would not be cast off forever. For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, i.e. spirit world. The scriptures do not tell us which kingdom he will inherit, but they do tell us he fell from his exaltation. Even the most righteous will be turned over to the buffetings of Satan to suffer for unconquered sins. Remarkably, it is even possible to suffer the buffetings of Satan and be resurrected into the celestial glory. And he cites Doctrine and Covenants, section 132:26. He says that the only souls who will be turned over to the buffetings of Satan and are never redeemed, they are resurrected but not to a kingdom of glory, are the sons of perdition. And we talked about this in Doctrine and Covenants 76. And so just because we're going to have to suffer buffetings for the buffetings of Satan doesn't mean it's going to be permanent. There's always a price to pay. He says, and I now give you the power from this very hour. This is back in Doctrine and Covenants 104. That if any man among you of the order is found a transgressor, repenteth not of the evil, that ye shall deliver him unto the buffetings of Satan, and he will not have power to bring evil upon you. So we're getting ready to come up to a very important part. He says, it is wisdom in me, therefore I command, I give unto you, that ye shall organize yourselves and appoint every man his steward. That's coming up. That every man may give account unto me of the stewardship which is appointed unto him. Now, while this is pointing out to the stewards of Zion, those who are listed here in a little bit, all of us need to realize that everything we have, everything we possess, whether it be vehicles, money, family, all of it actually belongs to the Lord, and we are to take care of it. That's why there's such serious sins for mistreating your wife or your children. Earlier in Doctrine and Covenants, we read that the Lord counts the tears of his daughters. Remember that. That's a serious one right there. That one scares the bee gees out of me. So I try and be a gentleman as much as possible. Verse 12, he says, and that every man give an account unto me of the stewardship which is appointed unto him. Verse 13, for it is expedient that I, the Lord, should make every man accountable as a steward over earthly blessings, which I have made and prepared my hands. And verse 14 is a great one. It says, I, the Lord, stretch out my hands and built the earth, my very handiwork, and all things therein are mine. Okay, now the next three I actually underlined, and you'll see why here in a moment. I'm going to read all three, and then we'll go over them. And it is my purpose to provide for my saints, for all things are mine. But it must needs be done in mine own way. Behold, this is the way that I, the Lord, have decreed to provide the saints, that the poor shall be exalted, and the rich are made low. For the earth is full, and there is enough and to spare. Yea, I prepared all things, and have given unto the children of men to be agents unto themselves. Now, you constantly hear about the earth, there's not enough resources for everyone on earth. Well, that's a satanic belief. Here, God is saying in verse 17, for the earth is full, and there is enough and to spare. Yea, I prepared all things, and have given unto the children of men to be agents unto themselves. So there is enough resources in existence to bless everyone. Not everyone that exists has the same wants or needs. For someone living on the streets, having a full belly, having a roof over their head, that would be great. For someone that has those things, being able to make sure all your bills are paid, maybe that's what they need. It's not a want, it's a need. To be out of debt is a need. At least according to me and God. Remember, a few sections ago, he said that we need to keep out of debt. Continuing on, verse 18, if any man shall take of the abundance which I have made, and impart not his portion according to the law of my gospel unto the poor and the needy, he shall with the wicked lift up his eyes in hell, being in torment. Because remember, what we have is not our own. We are supposed to share it with the poor. We can do that through the tithing and or we can do it through fast offerings. Or if we see someone that we believe can benefit from it, we can bless their lives. Now, here comes the distribution of properties of Zion. Verse 19, and now, verily I say unto you, concerning the properties of the order. Sidney Rigdon. Okay, we're going to start with him. He appointed unto him the place where he now resides, and the lot of the tannery for his stewardship. Now, if you don't know what a tannery is, it's where they tanned leather, where they made leather from the cow hides or deer hides, or hides altogether. They turn it into useful leather for stuff like clothes or all sorts of different things. And that's where we get the little idiom, I'm going to tan your hide. I heard this phrase many times growing up from my parents, and it just means that my derriere or my backside is going to get whipped hard. For those young enough to not know what that phrase means. The Lord continues, says, for his support while he is laboring in my vineyard, even as I will, when I shall command him. And then the Lord adds this little tidbit. He says, let all things be done according to the counsel of the order, and the united consent and voice of the order, which dwell in the land of Kirtland. And then he continues with Sidney, in this stewardship and blessing, I the Lord confer upon my servant Sidney Rigdon, for a blessing upon him and his seed after him. And then he says, and I will multiply blessings upon him, insomuch as he will be humbled before me. Well, we know what happens to Sidney Rigdon. He continues, now Martin Harris, for his stewardship, the lot of the land which my servant John Johnson obtained in exchange for his former inheritance, for him and his seed after him. Inasmuch he is faithful, multiply the blessings upon him. Now he says, let my servant Martin Harris devote his money for the proclaiming of the gospel of my word, inasmuch as my servant Joseph Smith Jr. shall direct. Now he goes to Oliver Cowdery. Oliver gets the printing office, which is lot number 1, and the adjoining house. And also the lot of which Oliver Cowdery's father lives on. Okay, now we go to Frederick G. Williams and Oliver Cowdery both share the printing press as part of their stewards, so they have joint stewardship. For John Johnson, he gets to have the house he lives in and the inheritance, all save the ground which has been reserved for the building of my houses, meaning the temples, which pertain to the inheritance, and the lots which have been named for my servant Oliver. And the Lord will multiply his blessings. And then he says this in verse 36, and it is my will that he should sell the lot that are laid off for the building up of the city of my saints, inasmuch as it shall be made known to him by the voice of the Spirit, and according to the counsel of the order, and by the voice of the order. Verse 37, this is the beginning of the stewardship which I have appointed unto him, for a blessing unto him and his seed after. Next one, 39, Newell K. Whitney. He gets the house where he resides, and the lot and building which the mercantile establishment stands, and also the lot which is in the corner south of the mercantile establishment, also the lot of the ashery. Now, again, here's something that people may not know what an ashery is, and I think I actually covered it. It's where ashes are used for different products this time. Not so much nowadays. We don't use ash that much in our daily products. For Nuke Whitney, this is what he receives for the benefit of the mercantile establishment in his order and for the stake. And here it says, and this is interesting, the stewardship which I have appointed unto my servant N.K. Whitney. I find that interesting that he leaves the null and just shortens it. Even the whole mercantile establishment, him and his agent, and his seed after him. Now we move on. Joseph Smith Jr. And this is actually will be the last one that we talk about. The prophet, he says, have appointed unto him the lot which is laid off for the building of my house, or temple, which is 40 rods long and 12 wide, and also the inheritance upon which his father now resides. We'll end this with 45. He says, for behold, I have reserved an inheritance for his father for his support. Therefore he shall be reckoned in the house of my servant Joseph Smith Jr. All right, brothers and sisters, that's the end of today's. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for all your support. Tomorrow we will do Doctrine and Covenants 104, 47 through the end, and there's going to be a lot of juicy stuff in there, so prepare yourselves. Read ahead, see what you think. I love you guys. I pray for you. This weekend for me is state conference, which I'm excited about. I look forward to seeing what our stake and whichever general authority comes, to see what they teach us. Tell us what we are preparing for. So with that, my brothers and sisters, I love you. I pray for you. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Have a wonderful Friday.